What is up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Grant from One Fire Review. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say it's been a while. Well, not really, but it has been somewhat of a while since I reviewed a movie that I actually gave a fucking crap about. And I haven't seen a movie this year that I really cared about except for I, Tonya. But hey, that's how life is, you know. When life gives you lemons, you take them. So, Ready Player One. I have been dreading this movie ever since they announced it all the way back at E3. I think that's when they announced it. I don't remember. Based on the book, Ready Player One, which, if any of you have read the book, some should know that it is an awful, awful mess of a book. It is embarrassingly bad. The writing is horrendous. And I've read the book, kind of. I haven't bought the book, and I haven't read it fully. But I have read excerpts of the book online, and of course, I found it in a library. So I read a few pages of it, and it is pretty embarrassing to read. It is name-drop the book. I was ashamed to be reading it. So the fact that I didn't like the source material, and they were adapting it into a movie, I really did not care all that they were doing it. So I wasn't excited for this movie, and then it came out. And how is it? That's what I'm going to talk about it. So the Ready Player One movie, which is significantly different from the book, from what I hear. We followed the main character by the name of Wade Watts, who goes by the name of Percival in the Oasis. In this dystopian future place in the world in 2049. People pretty much escape reality because the real world sucks. And they go to the Oasis, which is an online virtual reality world. This is pretty much where people live their lives, their fantasies. This is where everybody's awesome and all that. In this, the main lead designer, Hadaway, I think that's his name, Hadaway. He dies and he leaves a message. He leaves a contest for everybody to complete. The first to get the 3 keys in the game and find the Easter egg will inherit all of his fortune, the $1 trillion, $1.3 trillion, and complete control of the Oasis. And that's the whole movie. There's an evil corporation that is trying to take over called the Sixers or something like that. And they're run by the big bad businessman who wants to take over the Oasis and put all kinds of ads on it, spamware and all shit. And then the main character, Percival, and his team of ragtag people, whatever, I don't know, they try to stop it. And that's the movie. It's nothing really else to it. So I watched this day one. What did I think about it? I will be honest, it was a surprise in the sense that I didn't hate it. I was expecting to hate this movie. I went into it expecting to hate it. And I honestly didn't. I didn't hate the movie. The introduction to the film was actually kind of good. It was actually kind of a good introduction. They had this really nice cinematic pan shot showing like the world, how it is. Like, you have Wade Watts coming out of the trailer, leaving his trailer park, and you see everybody using the Oasis. And it's like, oh, okay, you get the idea. Is they're establishing what this world is. They're establishing what this virtual reality is, and it's great. And then he goes into the Oasis itself, and then we get to see more of what it is. We see his friends there, and we see like him doing stuff, getting coins and whatnot, and doing the race, which is the first competition set by Hadaway, was to complete a race. So the introduction to the movie was pretty good, and based on the introduction, I really wanted to like it, but I really couldn't, because as I watched the movie, I kept having problems with it, because while it wasn't horrible as I expected it to be, like the original source material, it wasn't good either, because unfortunately there were bad elements to it, and there were, of course, the Spielberg moments, because this is a Steven Spielberg movie. And you know, just kind of annoying things. And just to briefly go over the stuff I liked, because there are a few things I liked about this movie. And 2 of them are just scenes, action sequences, which was the first race scene in the movie, which was very nice to look at. And then towards the middle, there is the Shining sequence. And those who have watched the movie will know that the Shining sequence is probably the big highlight of the movie because it was a really great scene, just really well done in general. And like that kind of stuff was cool. Like the action part of the movie, it's like, oh, okay. Like the first two were great. The last action battle was kind of like, okay, you're starting to lose me a little bit, but okay, keep going with it, I guess. But and then and even the world the Oasis created, the world kind of building at first was kind of neat. My only problem was that the fact that the Oasis is built up as this great grand thing, and we never really explore it to its full potential. I wanted to see more of the Oasis in the movie, but I barely see it while watching it. It's like there are some live action scenes, and every time we cut to the live action scenes, it's the worst part of the movie. It's like, okay, I don't really care about this. I want to see more of the Oasis. What is in the Oasis? And if you're going to show the live action scenes, make it more interesting, like develop the world more. How is this world dystopian? I don't really know. They don't really show it. They kind of have you in this trailer park, but other than that, they don't really establish a government, a society. So it's just like, oh, okay, whatever. I'll buy it, but it's like, it makes sense. I'll give them that. It made sense, but they didn't explore. They didn't go the extra mile and say like, oh, okay, this is the world, and then here's the Oasis. And I really wanted to explore the Oasis more, which we didn't. And if we didn't, maybe we could have explored more of the actual world, and we still didn't. So it's like, yeah, in the middle somewhere. And the story of the movie itself was really lacking. It's a very simple story. They went for a very simple story and very simplistic characters, but the characters themselves were very uninteresting. I think the only one that was interesting was the lead female actress in the movie, whose name is Sam. I don't remember her video game character name. Extrelis? I don't remember. So, yeah, she was the most interesting, kind of. And Percival, I guess it's like, he could kind of be an interesting person, but he was just such a bland, just like, okay, protagonist, character, that's it, who has friends, and then gets the girl in the end. They get together, and that's really it. There's really, I mean, it's fine to be cliche. It's fine to be cliche, especially for what this movie is trying to capture. It is trying to capture that 80s movie, kids movie feel. So it's like, it's fine to be cliche, but in order for it for me to get somebody like me to care, I need to have something about these characters that I like. And it's like, we don't explore them enough. We don't really even get to know them enough. And the romance in this movie, I'll give it one thing. This is the first movie this year I've actually seen with a fucking romance in it. But it's never explored. Again, it just falls flat because it's just like, oh, they fall in love very easily too. And it's like, we never built up to that, really. And it's a shame because it could be something better, but it's not. And that's a big problem I have with most of the characters in the movie. The main 5 or 6, I don't know, characters in the movie, they're fine characters. Like, the casting is pretty good. The diversity of the cast is like, oh, it's pretty nice. But it's very lacking in character development, where we don't really know anybody except for Wade Watts and Samantha, the girl, which we barely know. So it's like, we never get time to develop any of these characters or where they are. And it's like, we don't care by the end because it's like, oh, they're just characters there joining the main character on his ride and being the hero. And the villain, like, I guess I enjoyed the villain a little bit more than most of them, but he's just kind of like, he's just a villain. It's just like, he's doing his classic stuff. And they really ruined what should have been a twist when they find out his name is Wade. Like, when he's like, Percival, I'm going to give you a deal. And then Percival's like, no deal. And he's like, all right, Wade. And it's like supposed to be this big reveal, but it's like, wait a minute, but we've already been established before that they knew his name was Wade. So this wasn't a big surprise to the audience at all. Maybe to the character, but not to us. And that's the whole point. And those are kind of the details that annoyed me about the movie. The structure was decent. It was a cliche, but we never built upon it to make it, to overcome what it could be. It could be a better, smarter movie, but it wasn't. It was just kind of like, oh, let's just stay down here. It doesn't matter. You know, who cares? It's just a romance. The romance, fall in love. And it's like, okay, fine, but I don't really care about these people or what their goals are or what their motivations are. I guess they just want the Oasis to be safe, and that's really it. And this movie does have its Spielberg moments, like how all the characters in the game, like the five friends or whatever, they all conveniently live in the same city. It's very convenient for the story for when they are in real life, and it's like, oh, we all lived in the same city this whole time. It's like, how did that happen? How was that? How? I didn't get it though. That was just kind of like, oh, okay. And everything was like convenient. Everything was always by the book. This is what happens, and I was just kind of bored during the real life segments and the Oasis. I just kind of wanted to explore more, but at the same time didn't really care. As for the Oasis itself, I didn't find it annoying, the CGI. Usually I'd hate this type of use of CGI, but in this movie it felt very appropriate. It's supposed to look like a video game. It is supposed to be a video game. They're in a video game. So it's like, oh, okay. And as far as like the pop cultural references, again, this does seem like something I would hate in a movie, but this movie really wasn't ham-fisting your just hand-fisting it down your throat with like the pop culture references. You love this, you love that. No, it wasn't doing that. It was just like, oh, this stuff exists and it's in a game. And I've used VR, and I've been on VR chat, and like people always use like avatars. They'll either create their own, or they'll have avatars of real life. So it's like whenever I saw Harley Quinn, or if I saw Shepard at one point, the Iron Giant, like different characters, like, or Tracer, like whenever I saw like popular video game characters in there, I was just like, I mean, that is just like real life. People will pick those video game character avatars, and then there will be people who create their own. And at least I could say that the original avatars in this movie are nice to look at somewhat. Some of them are interesting to look at. Others are just kind of like, whatever. And as far as that goes, it's just like, it's whatever. Like the pop culture references, like I said, they weren't in your face. They were just kind of there. And sometimes they were really neat, like the Shining sequence. Like I said, it's probably the highlight of the movie. Like it was a great scene. I thought it was played very well. Or even scenes where it's like King Kong showed up and the T-Rex. It was just like, it's kind of cool. But again, it doesn't last for long. And there are some references that, as a fucking nerd myself, as the ultimate geek, there were some things that did bug me in aesthetically wise. Mostly the Mecha Godzilla in the movie, which it's neither of the original Mecha Godzilla in I believe it was the 60s when he first appeared. It was not that version of Godzilla and Mecha Godzilla, and it wasn't the new version from the early 2000s Godzilla versus Mecha Godzilla. So it like took up a new form, and it was even more complicated and more overly designed, and I didn't like the look of it, honestly. That's probably the only big complaint I have about the movie. Other than that, aesthetically, most of the stuff was cool. I thought most of it was pretty cool. I actually did like the Gundam scene in there, which the Gundam does play a big part in the movie, and it even does the pose at one point, which I thought I was like, okay, that's cool. That's cool. Mainly because it's like, oh, okay, cool. And then, he does some damage, and I think that was another kind of cool sequence. It doesn't last long, but it was just kind of cool. And then, of course, you have all the other... I just hit my mic. Oh, my God. You have all the other stuff. There's so many references in this movie. I could just make a video talking about all the references I saw. And it's like, people, like, after I left the theater, they were like, oh, Grant, he went crazy for this. When he saw the Halo Master Chiefs running around, and it was like, no, I didn't. It was just like, oh, they're there. Obviously, many people would love to be the Master Chief, the same way many people would love to be Tracer, the Iron Giant, I guess. I don't know. It's like, okay, whatever. And my mic is falling. It is falling. I don't really know what else to talk about. I've debated on what I feel about this movie, like, in terms of who is this movie for? And I know that there was one YouTuber that said that this was a love letter to gamers everywhere, and that it is a must-see. And honestly, as a very, very avid gamer, as a collector in this community, as a huge avid collector of the video games, and an avid video game gamer, this movie did not feel like a love letter to, say, the person like me. I recognized almost every single video game reference there. I even recognized the holy hand grenade, which was kind of a funny touch. I wish it did that in the real game. But like I recognize all this stuff, and it's like it's just there. I don't think it's a love letter to gamers because it doesn't really interest me as a gamer to go watch a movie about all these characters coming together. And on top of that, I don't really know who this is for. At one part, I want to say it's for kids, but at the same time, it's not for a modern audience kids. It's like for the kids like in the 80s. Like, the kids that grew up with, Gremlins, the Goonies, or, the Indiana Jones, the Temple of Doom, like really dark stuff, like really like just not kid stuff that we would consider today. This is like kind of for them, but kind of not. And then like, there's like Atari references and old movie references. I'm forgetting the movie. What was it? I'm forgetting. Bonsai. What is it called? Bon Jovi Bonsai, I think it's called. I could be wrong. It's a old movie from the 80s, 85 if I remember correctly. It's like they have a reference to that, and it's like no person in this day and age would really recognize who that is. That is really stretching it, or it's like it's just kind of weird. And then there's of course just weird things in the movie that just kind of annoyed me. And it was just like, really? Like at one point, like Percival tells his friend, like, you've never seen The Shining? Are you kidding me? And it's like by the point in the movie, The Shining is 70 years old. It's like that'd be like a kid in high school today being like, you haven't seen Casablanca? The fuck's wrong with you? It's like, no, I haven't seen Casablanca. I mean, I have. It's a great movie, but you guys kind of get what I mean. Like stuff like that was kind of weird. Or like even the main challenge, like how this has been going on for 5 years. I couldn't buy that in the movie. The fact that this challenge is going on for 5 years and people couldn't figure out the puzzles within 5 years. Gamers will find this shit out immediately. They are always looking for exploits. Everybody's looking for exploits. And I honestly think within the first day, the gamers would have gotten it like that almost immediately. It is so just like simple. And like I've seen people that 3 days after a game comes out, it's like, I found a glitch, I found this. It's like people are always testing the boundaries, so I didn't buy that aspect of it. Other than that, I think it was fine. I think this was a fine movie, kind of. I don't know who it's for. I don't know who to say, like, oh, this is for you, mate. It's like, I don't know who this is for. I can't really say who I would recommend this to. And if I'm getting close to the final verdict for this movie for Ready Player One is a 5 out of 10. It is average, I guess. It is an average film. And if you're asking me who do I recommend it to, I have no idea who to recommend this to. But bottom line, no, I do not recommend this movie really to anyone. If you are slightly curious, I would say rent it when it comes out. However, as is in theater, do I recommend it? No, not really. The final verdict is a 5 out of 10. However, if you guys have watched the movie, tell me, what did you think? Did you think it was amazing? Did you think it sucked? Let me know in the comments down below. Oh, shit. Words getting twisted in my mouth. Anyways, I'm Grant for One for a Review. As always, have a nice day, and I'll see you next time.